So, welcome viewers to our next episode of Future of Work series brought to you by Amoeboids Technologies, where we've been talking to HR experts and thought leaders to understand their perspective into various trends and changes that's happening into the future of work. My guest today is Abhishek Gupta. He's the HR director of ZebPay, and he'll be talking to us today about culture and talent development in a hybrid workplace. So, welcome, Abhishek. Good to have you with us here.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you so much. Look forward to speak to you.
Same here. So, Abhishek, before we get started, could you help us to understand what does ZebPay do, and what your role there entitles?
Sure. So ZebPay, Karthik, is in a very niche space called cryptocurrency. So we are one of the first cryptocurrency exchanges in India, actually, which provides users services of buy and sell on our exchange. So one can open the account, do the KYC, and buy and sell cryptocurrency from the next moment. We have host of coins listed there, and it's an amazing platform wherein you can invest in cryptocurrencies, look at the charts, look at the movements of different prices at different points at different point of time. So that is one of the USP that our platform has, and we are actually one of the very first in the country which provided these services to the users of this country particularly. My role particularly in this company is actually leading the HR mandates in different departments, namely your learning, your HR operations, your learning, talent and OD, talent acquisition. So building all these things and working closely with the business leaders and providing them the counsel from the HR point of view and contribute towards the growth of the organization.
Very interesting. So cryptocurrency is the upcoming space in itself. So I'm sure there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there.
I'm sure.
Which also means the kind of people who will be coming there, and what kind of culture which kind of gets established there could be a role model for a lot of other companies which are out there right now. So I wanted to understand from your perspective on what is the future of hybrid working, which has now become like a new normal.
Absolutely. I think we are working totally remote, by the way, from the very beginning. Okay. And COVID-19 has taught all of us that, a lot of things that we've thought that it cannot done out of the office. Now, we all know that it can be done. It can be done, and it can be done effectively as equal as one is doing from the office as well. So basically, this is to stay. And just to give you an interesting data point, in the last 6 months, there were over 32 lakh searches for permanent and temporary jobs by Indians on Naukri.com. Wow. Out of those searches, about 57% of these were for the permanent remote jobs. So people are vouching for it. People are asking for it, basically, because we have seen people that working from home actually brings a lot of advantages to employees or to organization as well, particularly. So there's also from HR point of view, there's a foundational change in how recruiters are setting up org structures, because working from anywhere actually gives us, access to talent and more inclusion actually. So we can hire talent from anywhere for that matter, right? We are not really limited by the boundaries or geographical boundaries per se.
True.
And very interesting research done by a real estate consultant called Colise India. So Colise India actually, when they interviewed their occupants to the offices, then about 63% of corporates are currently embracing the flexible model. So they are now going to either remote or hybrid actually. So hybrid is here to stay. Now, hybrid work style needs to be supported by obviously the apt technological interventions to ensure that seamless collaboration and communication happens. So hybrid is something that we all are looking at. This gives a lot of space to a lot of advantages to all the organizations, all the works, all the people that are working in that environment. So for me, I think hybrid is something which is the need of the hour today.
So true, so true. But a lot of organizations, like in your case, you've been a remote first organization for that matter, but many organizations had to literally grapple with it at the moment the pandemic came in. And even right now, as we speak, there are a lot of organizations which are still contemplating, should we move or should we not, or if we do it, how are we supposed to go about doing it? So with your experience, how can organizations build a successful hybrid work environment? Because there'll be a lot of complexities which are associated with this kind of work.
So Karthik, while many of us have been working in a hybrid model for past few years, right? Leaders continue three questions, if I may say. So there are 2-3 questions actually where there are questions. So how do we create choice with guardrails for hybrid working? When does face-to-face really matter? And the third one, which is most important one, is what is the impact of hybrid working on career development, right? One way to address these questions is to create a framework for communicating the hybrid workplace in a company. Okay, so I tell you the 4 or 5 principles that anyone who are aspiring for hybrid working or who are aspiring for successful hybrid working can employ. The number one is propose principles for flexible working. That is provide clarity and autonomy. The first step companies are taking is to create enterprise principles for flexible working. Have a framework in place. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable. This one has to be very clear on these things. For example, that I was working somewhere is Royal Bank of Canada, for example, has done this with its sets of guidelines of workplace flexibility. Now, these enterprise principles for flexible work demonstrate the importance of providing guidance and autonomy rather than top-down policies in how to be successful in hybrid model. We have to that. The second important thing is reinvent work. Where, when, why, and how we work. Right? Well, pandemic may have eliminated our commute to work. Many of us ended up working long hours and less efficiently also, leading to excessive workloads. In fact, Microsoft Teams data shows that between February 20 and March 21, time spent Teams meetings more than doubled actually and continue to climb. So considering the density of workday with many back-to-back remote meetings, more companies are starting to ask, how can we work differently? And that's where companies like us, for that matter, and I was reading about a company called Salesforce. They are actually experimenting with the idea of no meeting week or meeting free week, particularly. So, and something that we also do like offline hour, where employees are unreachable by online channels actually. So we have to reinvent all these things if you want to make the hybrid successful, right? The third one that I was talking about, most important, provide equitable career development. Unlock potential for all employees. Now, this is important, Karthik. Hybrid working is bringing proximity bias into focus. This is the phenomena of favoring in-person workers for career development, stretch assignments, and mentoring at the expense of those who work remotely or in a hybrid work model. Because they are with us, they're closely working. So that's the bias that we have to remove. As a leaders, need to provide opportunities, equal opportunities rather to develop peer connections remotely and assurances that career development will be equitable for all employees, on-site, remote or hybrid, doesn't matter where you work, this will be equitable to you. The last thing is empathetic leadership, where the soft skills, hard skills basically. So as a leader, your soft skills are very important. And you have to model this empathetic leadership that you are actually equally aligned with everyone who is working with you in the office, who is working outside of the office, but you're equal to everyone. Correct. So these things are very, very important if you really want to have a successful hybrid workplace.
That's so true, Abhishek. So I think you've nicely laid out what should be a framework or some of the aspects that organizations need to look into when they're going this route. But some organizations might have already started and established certain things in this space of hybrid work environment. How do they sustain that and scale it up? So one is the challenge of actually setting it up. Once you've done that, how do you sustain that and how do you scale that up? So what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think let's be very honest, org work culture has always been a challenge to strengthen and sustain. But with the hybrid work models, the level of difficulty has increased multifold actually, manifold if I may. It's rare to have such an opportunity as we do now. However, as new working models emerge, leaders can reshape how they run their workplaces. I have a couple of pointers to add on where one can, implement that. 5 ways leaders can drive the kind of positive work culture, particularly, and the one is particularly the embed digital fluency. Now, everyone is working digitally, right? Digital technology now impacts every functional area of most organizations. Leaders who understand and prepare for this earlier will see success sooner. Businesses are shifting toward cloud-based architecture at lightning speed. And technology will continue to play a critical role in transitioning to a hybrid work model. Making workforces digitally fluent and ready for this change is vital for success. That's given actually. The second thing is foster a purpose-free driven organization. Now, purpose-driven organization. Everyone has to have purpose. The happiest employees are the people I've seen my culture is where the individual purpose in life meshes with the with that of org action. It's very interrelated. It's not right. Org is different. I'm different. It's very interrelated thing. So in an organization which is hybrid working, you have to have a very shared purpose with your employees. Actually, it helps in a way, right? So that's very important that you have this. Now, the third thing and very interesting you would find, Karthik, hybrid working model needs to support social capital, as I would like to say.
Yeah.
This is particularly important for hybrid work models when there is a risk of two org cultures emerging. One, a strong in-person culture, collaboration, interaction, those who work in office. The second is people who work outside office. And now the people who work outside office, they might feel isolated,
Correct.
that I'm working outside office and I'm not getting those much important things, important opportunities. To maintain positive cultures in a hybrid work model, leaders need to connect people across departments, providing cross-functional learning opportunities and creating time for people to have virtual coffee or networking discussions, right? To prevent the erosion of social capital, managers must actively take measures to maintain an interactive atmosphere. We at ZebPay, we have something called Springworks. It's a virtual assistant to all of us. It actually engages all of us one-on-one opportunities, doing virtual coffees, doing a lot of gamings, a lot of quizzes. It's all AI-driven model. So this is the way that we need to have. And lastly, we all need to find out the alternative to some so-called offsites. We all, we all yearn for offsites, right? We all know offsites is important, but in a hybrid setup, we may not be possible to have all the people at a one place in Goa or in somewhere. We need to find an alternative for a hybrid setup, the virtual alternatives as well.
True.
So that's important. And at the last, we have to push boundaries because leaders facing, with this hybrid model working, they need to incentivize people to work toward a specific purpose and understand the important role people networks play in influencing the culture and success of our organization. Especially when we are not working together. We're working, some people are working with us, some people are not working with us. So these are some of the things that are very important, which I found out for a success of a culture, for a sustaining of the culture in hybrid workplace.
That's very interesting. So my last question, Abhishek, is we touched upon various aspects of management and leadership, right? And from a talent development standpoint as well. So one crucial aspect in this entire piece is the aspect of performance management also, right? So especially in a hybrid environment, like you rightly mentioned, some people may feel isolated, that I'm not getting that kind of visibility in front of my manager, and hence get that reward, recognition, promotion, and stuff like that. So how do you think organizations can utilize objectives and key results, right? So you spoke about purpose, where there's an alignment between individual's purpose and the organization's purpose. So what are your thoughts on using OKRs, which seems to be the current hot thing out there, right? So how can organizations use this well in a hybrid environment so that managers are able to manage the resources well and reward the ones who duly have performed, irrespective of where they're working from?
Absolutely. I think OKRs are very critical, Nagendra. Actually, we at ZebPay also trying to employing OKRs. We have last year done our OKRs. Particularly, these become very important in the hybrid work environment because OKRs actually sets you up for the success in a right way, where your outcomes are important, but the efforts are equally important as well. Where you are actually, particularly as a team, as an organization, as a small team or large team, as a function, as a business unit, you are very clear that these are the things that I need to achieve in the thing, right? And this is how I'm going to achieve. How are also important in an organization like us? How are equally important that what are we going to achieve? We're going to be an ethical organization. We're going to be a very socially responsible organization for that matter. We are in fintech company. We have customers with us. So we are we have to be very, very responsible. So OKRs, hybrid work environment sets you up for the success. It clearly outlines your responsibilities. It clearly tells you that what is to be achieved, how is to be achieved. And people who are working in hybrid settings, actually, if the OKRs help them more, I believe, than the people who are working in a total remote setting, total office setting or total remote setting, because it highlights the way that this is what we want to achieve. This is how we want to achieve. And what all in the team, particularly what my responsibility would be, what my team member responsibility would be, very sharply defining manner particularly. So in fact, as you rightly said, OKRs are the thing. In fact, I would highly urge organizations who want to play around with a hybrid model or totally remote model. OKRs is the next thing. Shun the typical PMS thing of still have the OKRs and have the frequency also. For example, in our case, we have the frequency of half yearly actually, because in our environment is changing overnight, right? So we have the hybrid working model, we have the total remote working model, we have half yearly OKR set in for us. We quickly change it, we quickly adopt it. Resilience is the key. And so is OKRs provide you a lot of resilience rather than having that yearly, you set up goals, then you do half yearly, then you come at the end of the year, theek hua, nahi hua, and all that stuff, how much we achieve, how much. We cannot live with that kind of latency right now, if I may say so. It's very important.
Okay. So those were some wonderful insights that you have shared, Abhishek, for organizations who are thinking of how to go about this route. And you laid out very clear points on how to set it up, how to sustain it, what should leaders be doing, and last but not the least, how OKRs can play a very crucial role, especially when you're moving towards a hybrid work environment. So thanks, Abhishek, once again for your time. I love that conversation.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you for having me on this, and love interacting with you. Thank you.
Thank you.